Happy Mother's Day. Am I rocking? All right, cool. Happy Mother's Day to our mothers here, and as well as us other maternal beings, as we're going to get into here in a second. So, anyways, it's a lovely Sunday. I hope we get a little sun on the Sunday. I think we will in the afternoon. But anyways, we'll get into my presentation today. So my presentation for Mother's Day to celebrate our maternal essence is titled Why We Matter. And I'm going to be speaking on the idea of a whole reasonable truth to experience as far as life in this material plane of existence. And we're going to find a very humble and a very simple truth. And we're going to recognize, first we're going to be elevating the essence of what it means to be maternal. And we'll find some admiration for motherhood here. But we're also going to spend time considering that a complete, united individual is the fulfilled experience that we all at some point are after. And so initially here I have my title, Why We Matter. And I would pose that perhaps we could change with some punctuation the meaning, and I could say why we matter, because we are matter, and that's what this is. We are here in the material form, and so we ask, well, why do we matter? And so I'll start with my first part of admiration for motherhood. Here is that the cherishing point for parentage or creative essence of any kind, because that's what being a mother is. You've created something that withstands its own. You've created a creator. You've passed forward a piece of yourself into the world that acts abundantly on its own, generates its own, organizes its own, has its own highs, its own lows, and you've created something else that is also creative. And you've added to this ongoing, recursive, cyclical system of fulfillment and expression, which is what the material universe truly is. And so when we say, like, well, why do we matter? Well, because mom says we do, or because dad says we do, or because somebody else says we do. Something else has purpose for me to be there. But we can take it a step beyond that external validation, because motherhood is fantastic, fatherhood's fantastic, friendship is fantastic, mentorship is wonderful, but we are all a being, and we are all a vessel, and we have the ability to find that gratitude and to recognize or recognize that we matter and that we can hold ourselves accountable in grace, free of judgment, and know that we have a place here. And that we are the only ones capable of being that piece of material that we can be. So I'm going to get to the why in a second. But anyways, I'm just thinking here for a second. But we matter. Any questions real quick? I mean, that's just a random little intro. I'm going to write something else here that's going to be the topic of the discussion truly. So, okay. Does anybody argue that we are matter? I would hope not. And I think this idea of matter, and then I just spoke on this concept of this creator creating a creator, or the creative essence of you passing forward the creative essence to the child, or when I create a work of art, or when I speak this, then it is resonating with everybody else in their own way. It's coming into your being, and then you process it, and then that's a creative act where you then build upon the understanding, or you build it in your own slight variance of the way that I perceive it. And everything in existence, everything, truly, I don't even need to say in existence, is a creative aspect, is a creative essence. That is the humble truth, is that everything that matters is but the constant cycle of new beginnings. Every end, every moment is a new beginning as well. And so there is a constant pattern to this entire experience that we can choose to recognize. Like Kim, we were talking about signs. We can choose to find reason. We can choose to admire. We can choose to be conscious of what we could see as the most fundamental, simple pattern which exists, which is change. It's new, it's beginnings. It's the fact that we have willpower and we are creative, and everything we do is adding and making a more beautiful, a more fulfilled experience, because every time I do something new, I'm a new person in this new moment doing something, invigorating the world around me. Truly, everything we all do matters and changes experience and adds to the history and adds to the story and adds to the lineage of shared experience for all people that have ever lived and ever have lived. And that simple pattern of change, progress, is emulated. Well, it's not even emulated. It is only done because of matter. Matter is the place for this fulfillment to occur, for this expression to occur. That's what this is. There's an eternal pattern of progress and change, but there needs to be something for that change to occur in, and that's the material. The mother has the child. She has the child in her womb. The child is literally herself, your organism. You're connected by the umbilical cord. You share blood, I believe. Maybe. I think you do, right? You're literally the same exact organism until that organism is ready to live on its own. But that separation is perceived. Like, truly, that separation is just something that we conjure in our minds because we are deceived by the material world into thinking, well, like, that's a new person and I'm my own person. Well, no, you're just one giant system, collaborative system, expressing itself in further and further detail. And you look at the night sky and you glance up initially, you can only see a few stars. But as you continue to look and your eyes continue to adjust, you continue to reveal the opportunity to see more and more and more and more stars. If you look at a yard or look at a garden and you just at first glance, you say there's grass and there's trees. Well, what happens if you get a little closer, you spend a little more time looking? You might see bugs, you might see birds. Well, what happens if you get down lower and look at that bug that you saw fly by? You might see all the detail. Well, what happens if you look even closer and you spend a little more time? You're going to see how that bug negotiates with the world around it. You're going to see how it makes impacts, how it provides change, how it invigorates its situation. And then if you look even longer, you'll see how the plant that was maybe devoured by the bug maybe repopulates in another direction. Because change drives necessity, but it's this continuous pattern of change and necessity, new and end, beginning and destination, and it's this constant invigorating cycle of lived experience, which is the maternal world. And we have to think matter and maternal essence for that, because like maybe a few of us aren't feminine potentially, but we're maternal because I'm maternal, and it's up to me to accept the pattern and become cognitive of it. So I'm going to write this. So this is my simple expression that I think relates this idea of the maternal world and the paternal essence to everything. And it's, I will say, life and truth are but the realm of reason, and that reason, which is the truth of all existence, it's the truth of eternity, it's the truth of our individual lives, it's the truth of our shared experience, is that at the most fundamental level, we are fulfillment expressed we are some multitude, ultimate abundance of potential that in each one of us, in the works that we give, the words we say, the actions we take, the choices we decide upon, we are some ultimate abundance, some idea of fulfillment from the highest level, from the most simple perspective, free of deceit, free of detail, free of distinguishability, free of witnessability. The whole system is defined and it's fulfilled completely. And we are some little piece of this, some very important, necessary, specific expression. Every single one of us is a specific expression. Without us, the story is incomplete. If I don't take action that I feel inspired to, it's never going to happen. At least it won't happen from my hand. It'll be because of a different opportunity, because of a different expression, a different moment. So we are truly fulfillment express, and I have another drawing, a symbol to understand this idea of fulfillment, because it's the most simple answers, the most simple reason that gives us the truth. The truth is always simple because it adheres to a common reason. It adheres to contemplation and consideration. We can fathom the truth of life if we choose to have grace and lower our expectations. So fulfillment express, and equally, at every point, we are also expression fulfilled. Perhaps we're expression looking to be fulfilled. And that's where we find ourselves at, through these seeing eyes. I know I'm writing probably not great in terms of direction here. And so while each one of us is maternal, because we're material, like we are specific expressions, no two stones are alike, no two people are alike, twins aren't the same. Everybody's different, and that's how it has to be. And this is why I think motherhood, in the at least traditional idea of like motherly care, motherly love, is so great, because the mom loves the child for who they are in this ideal format. It's like, I have created this child because it was meant to be. And there's no questioning that this child is meant to be, that this moment's meant to be. Everything is meant to be, because it is the maternal essence. Without the color, without the vivid description, without the vivid experience that we have in every moment, we'll never have the chance to champion virtue, or we would never have the invigorated moment to drive us to further action, to get us to flourish, to get us to blossom some idea, or champion some virtue, or alternatively champion some vice, because it's all okay. Everything is inspired, and we can choose to aspire by understanding who we are. And so if we want to act with truthful will, and we want to act on our best accord, if we want to be the best we can be, or choose to be the captain of the boat, if we want to drive ourselves somewhere in sovereign fashion, if we want to be the ones that grasp the reins of destiny and take ourselves where we truly desire to go, you have to know the vessel. And if we look to really have sovereignty in life, to get away from the folly of critical expectation or judgment from others or ourselves, the fundamental reason is that it's meant to be. It's all been okay. But just like we can have external validation to know that we matter and that we mean something to the world, there's just like 100% proof that you do matter to the world, because it wouldn't be complete without you. We are fulfillment express because fulfillment, obviously, there's a simple truth to life in reason. And that's this obvious pattern. It's the common pattern I talked earlier. There is nothing but change in every moment. It is the fundamental idea of existence. It is the foundational idea of contemplative effort. Change, new, life, death, this cycle of the sun, the cycle of the stars, the way the flower blooms in the spring and then dies and withers away in fall. There's a constant, obvious cycle and pattern to everything. The way we talk, the way we express friendship, the way we greet each other. But then equally, we are expression looking to be fulfilled. We all want to know what it's like to have bliss. We all aspire for comfort. Our bodies aspire for comfort, but our minds aspire for more. We aspire for fulfillment. We aspire for some sort of satisfaction. And it's a certain type of phrase that escapes us in language. We rarely can meet it in art. It is something more than a thought. It's something more than a feeling. But some idea that we all know exists is this wonderful establishment of true fulfillment. It is the carrot that lingers just out of reach forever while we're here. And that's what we are. We are this cycle. We are some piece of everything being discrete, and then we are trying to reunite and return to recognize that fulfillment, because this is how we level up. This is how we edify and how we purify ourselves, as if we choose to recognize that there is a fulfilling state that we can get to. It's promised in our soul. It's promised to us. We know it exists. At least if you're here sitting here, you probably recognize that it exists. But it's a choice, and you have to give yourself credit for recognizing that there's something more. But if we recognize that there is something more and something beyond ourselves, how will we get there except for being more, and being more than we were in the last moment? I'd like to speak on this idea of simple reason with one of the most simple shapes and simple symbols available to us, and I'm not going to draw it that good probably, but a circle. Any fantastic symbol. We get caught up on Instagram or Facebook or books thinking that there's some crazy occult understanding to these symbols that people across all of human history, as far as we know, have used. But the circle is just so obvious in its simple reason. In the circle, we have unity, we have completion, we have no hard line, no discontinuous features, but it's not without size and shape. It has detail, it has dimensionality, it has space. This circle spans two different directions, but it's still whole, it's still complete. And it's kind of like life here. For all of us, we are maybe potentially you could say we're some point on that circle. And what happens if I don't choose to be who I can? Or if I'll always be who I'm supposed to be, and if I don't choose, truly. But what if I were to take accountability and recognize that I'm some important piece? Like the courage I would find and the confidence I would have in life to get mine and to be mine, to be who I could be, to be the best version of myself, to truly aspire towards greatness, not just for myself, not just for others, but to aspire and recognize that I have the potential and you have the potential to be the most glorious thing you could be, the most glorious piece of a greater piece that exists among all of us, that what you do for yourself, you truly do for each other. But it's not even just for each other, you do it for everything. Because this universe is like a mosaic. This maternal universe is like a painting. And every single one of us is a specific hue. And it's like a rainbow. We can casually look at a rainbow that pops up in the sky, and you can go like, oh, there's purple, blue, and green. Look closer. You're going to see an infinite variance, a gradient between the hues. What happened if you just took one of those lines out? You would have an odd-looking rainbow, because it would be discontinuous at that point. I mean, that rainbow branches beyond just the colors you can see, ideally. And so another fantastic symbol here is a really, really constant one is the Ouroboros, which is the snake that eats its own tail. And so here we have another really simple symbol about this idea of fulfillment. This snake, or this circle, is fulfilled. It's complete by every means of the idea of the connotation of fulfillment. But when you have the snake, all of a sudden we have a beautiful image that represents progress and change. That snake is slithering. The snake slithers around, always attached to its own tail, always changing. A common epithet of the universe is the ever-changing, changeless God, or ever-changing, changeless nature. Because if you were to step away from the perspective of an individual person, then you would no longer have separation. You would be at this complete fulfilling state, this completely fulfilled state. If there's no chance for change, there's no need for change. Change and necessity are ever given. And so, but once we step and once we find ourselves apparent in this visual world, this material world, then yeah, we do see separation. And we are there to be the change. And change is good, and change is necessity. So, any questions here on this Ouroboros snake? These symbols are everywhere, and they're just very, very, very simple. The ultimate symbol right here. The dot. Distinguished an identity. The one. The most simple. Has no dimensionality. It is just it. Free of any providing nurturing detail. So I'm going off there, but yeah. You could take it a step farther and say, well, if you were to introduce one variance of dimensionality from the dot, you just went one direction from an initial dot. Now I find myself with some sort of detail. I. Because now I perceive and I witness. Now I'm material and I'm separate and I perceive. I'm different than at one. And this is institutionalized into all of our symbols and all our shapes. So, any questions on this concept of this material versus this pattern? I think this is just the most abundantly reasonable duality for who we are and what we are. We are the maternal, and we are the paternal. And it doesn't have to do with, it probably, it does at some point as far as tendencies or what we are as far as the universe expresses itself, being like feminine or masculine, but this is at some level, this is beyond that. There's this idea, the pattern is the great idea. And the maternal is the womb, it's the vessel. And so we're all maternal because we all are vessels. And whether we are man or woman or whatever, we can, we're maternal and we can be focused on the fact that we're matter, and we can get caught up on our, letting our psyches be bound to who we view ourselves as a separate, or we can transcend this woe of separation, these woes of separation. There's multiple, many, infinite. And we can recognize that there's this greater truth. And this greater truth isn't just shifting to only being knowing that there's this immaculate acceptance and fulfillment for all of us. Just being one or the other doesn't complete the picture. It's not the whole truth. The whole truth is when we merge the two halves and we bring it together, and we act as the vessel that drives, it champions where it wants to go. And so we just caught up in the maternal. There's a lot of us that get caught up in maternal, caught up in material. It's literally the same word. And it's okay, because it's not wrong to have progress in life. But the more that we can be in charge of the vessel and drive it knowing that we matter on a very, very high note to each other, maybe we can find ourselves being the vigor that we wish for. We can be the world we want to see. Maybe we can not be a victim to seeing somebody do something that's bad, and maybe we can not let our material self get deflated and let our emotions run awry because we see something we don't like online, and we can just say, yeah, something happens because it needs to happen for there to be change. And that's the most simple truth. To refuse to let the ego take over, to refuse to let emotion take over in every walk of life, and to merge the two, to merge the truth with the vessel, to let the moon be clothed in the sun or bathed in the sun. The moon why is the moon known as like the lady of the night? The moon's always feminine, right? And the moon varies. The moon looks imperfect. The moon has craters and peaks, troughs, and the moon changes, cycles. It goes through the moods, right? We all have moods, but are we only our mood? Like, do we all have to act only as how we feel in the moment? Like, do we only have to do what we want? No, we can do what we think is right. We don't have to do what we just want to do in the moment. We can rise up and get away from we can get outside of the peaks and the troughs, and not just be emotional beings or bound to our mood. We can accept and invigorate ourselves with this pattern. The pattern of recognizing, using reason, that we can humble ourselves, be gracious and have gratitude, and we can rise above and be a bright light that casts its light downward and be the idol. Mm-hmm.
I wish I would have known this when I was younger, that like it's that you do change every day. Like you wake up and you're a different person in a different moment. Now I like embrace it, but I wish I would have known that younger. And then it's also like I have this thing where I like to know who I am, but then if somebody else says, well, that's not like you, that's you, then I get mad that, like, you don't fucking know me. Like, I just instantly be like, you know what I mean? It's just like this battle of, like, I'm ever changing, but then I'm also like, I know who I am, but I'm like, really don't, because I'm always changing. But if somebody else tries to, like, call me out, or, I don't know, see me, like, I don't even know how to, like, just, like, say, that's not like you, that's not your personality. And I'm like,
yeah, it's weird that we crave to be defined. Yeah. But we, like, resent somebody else's definition.
That's it.
It's
because we like the certainty, like knowing who we are.
We like certainty.
But we're also like the certainty of, like, that's not me always. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to grow and change and be better.
And it is hard when you see the change in yourself, but then somebody else comes and says, no, that's not right.
Yeah. That too.
I think it's, in just a moment's reflection, it's interesting because everybody else around us, I mean, truly is almost like a piece of our environment. And so when, like, the world around you says, that's who you are, it's kind of like, oh, shoot. That's who I'm coming off as. But it's not who I aspire to be. And I aspire to be different. I aspire to change. So it feels like a limit, but okay, get over it, you know? Like, truly practice letting that slip aside, because it's a fool's errand to expect that somebody else knows you and knows your mind in that moment.
I think, since I moved to Topeka, like a year ago, and I've met a lot of people that everyone has known for a long time. I won't say who, but I was talking to these girls, and they were talking about someone I know, and I was like, oh, like, I love that person, and they were like, oh, I know them from when they were 21, and this or this, and I'm like, but they're not 21 anymore. Like, they're someone totally different. And, like, I was like, if someone judged me or kept me as who I was at 18, that wouldn't be fair because I'm not 18 anymore.
Yeah.
And I think some people have a hard time letting go of the people they knew, like in high school or in college, and just keep them in that identity. But, like, no one is the same as they were. And I think some people are more open to that. And also not letting people's, like, definements of other people get in the way of yours. Because I know that person in a different way. And so, like, why would their perception of that person change mine?
Yeah, you know them for who they're being.
Yes.
Not for who they've been.
That's all I know. That's all I'm going to continue to know. But they know someone else, but they need to be able to, like, still know that person. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we're not set in stone. You know, what a folly on our behalf of self-judgment too. You know, the world definitely knows who we've been, but it was supposed to, because how else will we be who we are now? And, like, we have to be, you know, the doors have to be open to always have the chance to walk through. You know, the doors of grace, the doors free of judgment, you know, shame, like, letting those fade away, and those are just chains that bear us down when we attempt to be who we can be. I mean, we're so attached to thinking about who we are as an image, and thinking about who we should be. But if, like a captain driving a boat, if I'm just thinking about what the boat looks like, and I'm worried about how I'm coming across, I'm not driving the boat the best I can be. We become the tools, and we become like the rays that cast out and lift everybody else up when we just commit to being the act. When we find ourselves being and not worry about what we've been. So, but it's very interesting. And like you're saying, Mom, with the moon and how we vary our moods every day, and that's, I mean, what a just, again, obvious chance. An obvious chance for necessity, an obvious chance for action. Every day is different. Every minute can be different. I mean, every couple of seconds can be different in how you feel. But you're so much more than how you feel. Should you choose to champion, it's all about choice. And we can have foundation, and we can have a anchor to some beautiful, reasonable essence, the most reasonable essence. Should we recognize that we are dual in mind and body, and that great reascension that we strive for, and that growth and that journey towards fulfillment, it's not to get away from the body. It's not to abdicate responsibility of your physical provision. It's to recognize that we can take into it the high mind into our actions, and recognize that if we don't do it, it ain't going to get done. So, I mean, what greater piece of fulfilling, self-appreciation than when you feel like not doing something lovely, and then you do something because you chose to do it. When we avoid like temptation, or when we avoid like laziness, or when we avoid like a vulgar response to somebody, or we avoid acting off of our emotion, or when we choose to do better, knowing that wrong or worse exists, that's wisdom. That's ingrained into us. And the more we practice, the more that we know, the more real it becomes, the more consistent we become. Like, we are creatures of habit, but if we're habitually recognizing some beautiful essence, and we can bring that into the vessel, just things get a lot better. The moon is always described, I was going to continue with that, the moon's always described as like this feminine idea, and then people say the sun's masculine. Well, the sun's material. Like the sun itself, like as a physical entity, it's maternal. But it's casting that ray, it's giving that light of provision, the light of change. It's giving the opportunity for change, the energizing of the situation. Like, we all energize the situation because we're all just literally some energy processing, some material organized, moving more material and energizing other situations. We got our rays, it's got its rays. It gives the idea. That idea is the pattern. Growth, progress, life, death, whatever it is, opportunity, provision. And so we can mimic that as well if we take responsibility and accountability. And so if you look at all the great arts in a lot of like fantastic churches, like we just went to Italy, beautiful churches with beautiful what are they called, frescoes, I think, but the paintings inside, and the Virgin is always Mary. Okay, but the Virgin's always represented with the moon. The moon is always around her. She's either usually wearing a moon like circle on her head, or she's standing on the moon. And this is in every myth, because the moon looks imperfect. But whose light bathes the moon? The sun, the ultimate providing light giver. Love, joy, opportunity, day, night, revelation. Even the idea of what light is as a physical essence. Light is the ever-searching sight, just like the reasonable mind. When we look deeper and deeper within and figure who we are, just like looking in the garden, there's always more detail. No matter, as long as you cast that light, there's more to see. The more you look, the more you'll see. There's this ever-fulfilling, continuously providing depth, infinite depth of detail available, the more you look. And Mother Mary, or the Virgin, which That's why it's a common theme. The virgin is material. Until she's clothed in the light, until we choose to have the light within us, and we have the sun in our hands, and we become bathed in it. We become bathed in the light because we are now choosing to radiate. And so when we choose to accept the truth of grand reason, and we choose to see that there is a reason why I am here, and there's a reason why you're here with me, and there's a reason why X, Y, and Z happened, good or bad, and that reason is just the basic fact of change. And we take that with us, and we choose to champion what we think is right, and not just act how we want to in the moment. That's when we become the unified individual. And that's when the two sides of ourselves merge. That's what the flaming heart is. It's when the light becomes the driving essence of the body. When the heart's no longer just a threptic, animalistic machine, but when your actions are in accordance with your thought, your high mind. And that's an elevated experience.
It kind of reminds me of my therapist was helping me because I said I want to like help everybody. Like it's like I can't not see everything in the room. Like the mouse that's like sick. I get bugs out of my pool. Like, and he reminded but that's exhausting. And so he reminded me like the light. The light when you come into Bay.
Like a lighthouse.
The lighthouse just shines. It just shines and then people come in. It doesn't just like pick somebody. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of like the sun is providing to all of us, but some people think, oh, that person's getting shined on more, that person's getting the spotlight, but it's there for everybody. Mm-hmm. And if you just have to open up and accept it and then go your direction and your light will shine because you're not worried about everything, all the details of everybody else or whatever. You're just focusing on what you're here for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the sun, you can stay inside all of your life and not feel its warmth and know its beauty and not pay attention to how the animals and the plants respond to its light, not pay attention to the cycle of the calendar, the seasons. Or you can step out and start paying attention and find reason and find like a humble reason that it's not about strife and like making somebody do something that you aspire toward or that you feel like they should. Right. Like what a folly of expectation to think that I know better than everything and that I know what you should do. Like I have that much prescience that I can look forward. No way. What a horrible level of expectation to have on yourself or anybody. I don't know what I'm going to do in a minute. But I know I'm going to stick true to what I believe in, or I'm going to try, and should I fail, I'm going to have grace with myself. I mean, we could all be that lighthouse, and we all truly are that lighthouse. And the peak at which that light sits, the vibrance of that light and the hue of that light is all a choice. We can choose to be moodful beings, or we can choose to shine like the sun. And there's nothing wrong with either one. But if you ask for more and you feel like there is more, then we need to be reflective and choose to be more.
I saw something that really stuck with me last week, and hopefully I say it right. But it was this woman, she's talking about how you need to be a thermostat instead of a thermometer.
Thermostat,
because the thermostat stays the same.
A thermostat.
Like you set it, right, and it just stays at the
Oh, I see.
Oh, yeah.
But the
thermometer varies.
Right. Yes, and she's like, comparing it to mood. Like when you're with people, like you need to set your own thermometer and be your mood, and you shouldn't let other people's mood make you vary. And I loved that example. And because I was just thinking, like, I'm someone that can kind of get bothered really easily, depending on other people's moods. I think everybody is, and so, but like, why change how you're feeling based on how other people are feeling?
Yeah, I mean, it just becomes a very selfish endeavor, and we, all of us at some point are very selfish because we all perceive ourselves as being individuals, and that it's a huge folly, honestly, but it's also meant to be. Like when you have your mood changing, well, what if I'm consistently, maybe I'm not necessarily above everybody, but what if my mood is always right here? Or what if the way I choose to act is always rooted in the highest order? I'm always up here in this state of like, we'll say like bliss, at least perceived bliss. Well, when the world around me is down here, then, when the world's dark, the light shines brightest. Well, and then when the world's up high, it's wonderful because we're all shining bright together. And a common thing that we get into is when we often as we go on this journey of recognizing our own agency in the choice of who we show up as far as an attitude and as far as a providing essence or a creative essence of the next moment, it's easy for us to still crave distinguishability, for us to still crave an isolated identity, and to find that we matter as far as we think it means to matter in the moment. We think that we need to be individualized. And truly we do want to be individualized. This individualization is the great blossoming that the universe craves. The universe wants us. We, as the universe, I, as the universe, desire truly the most blossoming experience where each one of us individualizes in the ultimate degree to fulfill this picture evermore with the single, expression that all of us can be. And that's absolutely amazing. But the acceptance of that as the pattern doesn't mean attaching your material value and your vigor and your mood and your attitude to being individual. It's recognizing that I am the one meant to be me, and that I have high attributes and I have things I need to work on. And I need to champion those great pieces of myself and work on those other ones, while also recognizing that everybody around me is doing the same thing, and that what I do is collaborative, and I can be compassionate, and we can work together to make this happen. But when we rise up and when others rise, it's easy to then feel like you're no longer the bright light and you're no longer, the star of the show. But we have one giant star of the show, but if I were to travel really, really far away, perhaps another star is the star of the show, and it's all just a matter of perspective. And so if we find ourselves getting attached to not being the star of the show, even though, say, we all go on to do just the most amazing things as far as we can perceive glory and valor, well, the aspiration is to shed the light so that others rise with us, and that those that need the courage and need the confidence come with us. That's the best thing we can do, is if one flower blooms, let the rest of those flowers come up. You have a patch of clovers. They don't just want one flower coming up and that clover doesn't get mad at the other clovers. We're wanting to get all those flowers blooming. We want all those daylilies blooming at the same time. So, but with that said, the great aspiration as far as the material universe is truly balance and harmony. And so those of us that feel invigorated to be the high side, or what we consider the high side of compassionate glory and valor, there's going to be equally individuals, expressions that are what we would see as the opposite or in opposition to us. And I'm not here to be the judge, because without any of it, everything is not as such.
It's hard when you strive to find that, when you've always done this, to expose yourself to this a lot. That is where I struggle. I really struggle.
Like giving yourself grace for being there?
I
in
can
the
give
trough?
myself grace. I know everybody's going to do this, but I lived this, growing up, my marriage, and when you find that middle, because I can be going through some shit, and nobody has to know that, at work or I'll tell my friends, whatever, but that's never going to, it used to, and it would affect everybody around you. And now when I'm with those people that it affects everyone around you, I really struggle. with that. And I know that I need to find grace but I also struggle with like, figure your shit out.
Yeah.
Why do I gotta live in your shit? And I don't. That's my choice.
Yeah, you're choosing
That
to
is my
to
choice.
accompany them in that moment, right? At some point.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I have to make, and I do. I figure it out.
Yeah.
I give people a lot of chances, but I do figure it out. But you know what I'm saying? Because I do know that everybody has their shit, but I just feel like at some point you gotta realize this isn't where you want to be.
I would say at some point, I don't think it's going to be as simple as just they are going to get it this time around. But at some point, that is the aspiration, yes.
Yeah, maybe 12
Yeah.
lifetimes down the road. Is that what you're saying?
I would say a lot. I would say a lot more. But yeah.
Do you know what I mean, though? And
yeah.
So what is you just don't put yourself in that position?
Yeah.
Because you're always gonna. You have to in the world, but you don't have to repeat it.
I don't think we're supposed to get away from these people. Like I don't think necessarily we're all going to just live at a straight line. Like that's not fulfilling. That's not expressive. The culmination of all of our experiences is harmonic.
Right.
But what do you choose to be? Do you choose to be a little bit above the line, a little bit below? Maybe more likely this is like the foundation. I mean, this is the truth. The truth is harmony and balance. The truth is fulfillment and expression.
Right.
The truth is always change. But the truth is change. The truth is bigger. And so this is just the idea of like calling myself out and being accountable and being the one that's leading my own life. So when I find myself dropping down, well, if I don't have any idea of who I am and I don't have any idea of reason, I'm just going to plummet because I have nothing to hold on to. But what if I internalize this great reason that I can choose and I can be what I think I should, and I don't want that, and I don't think I should be that? Well, I got two great reasons to step it up, and maybe in that type of situation, remove yourself. I mean, in all honesty, whatever judgment is passed on you as an acquaintance or a friend or whatever, I mean, ain't your problem.
Yeah.
If you don't, I mean, in all honesty, if you have the feeling and the thought to act, and you refuse to do so, I mean, from one side of the argument, what offering of necessity and change are you giving that person? Which we're all responsible for each other at some point. We're all part of the same system. So it's hard because we like the comfort of what, Sadie? We love consistency. We love certainty. And it's damn certain that I'm going to be in a bad mood around my bad mood friend or whatever. But what happens if I just go, you know what? No more of that. It's hard to walk away from something that's traditional, something that you know. But what fruit might, grow from your decision there, and what opportunity awaits that person? But if you never are the, the mechanism of delivery of opportunity for yourself and that person and everybody else involved around them and every essence of material universe that's going to be impacted by this decision. I mean, we want to make better people, but better people are changed. It's just changing people. Better's new. That's what better is. Better's new. Better isn't me saying, well, if I, hurt that person's feelings, they're going to be in a good mood or a bad mood. Good. They need to be in a different mood because the same thing is not adhering to the most basic fundamental aspect of material universe, which is the paternal essence. So if I am not going to act, then you're not even like a rock. A rock changes. You're being antithetical to everything that is, and that's why finding this solid foundation of reason, because it's just the most like invigorating idea that I can do something that's different, and that I will always be able to brace the wave, or I'll always be available and ready because I know myself. I know what I'm supposed to do. At least I know, what I'm not supposed to do is stay the same. And that no matter what road I turn down, I'm ready for whatever's around the corner. Like I know whatever I see in the future, I'm ready for because I'll be there. And that's the truth. But we shouldn't shy away from action. We shouldn't shy away from being the ticket of change. As hard as that might be, go for it. That's what it's all about. You know, what follows winter? What follows the death of everything? A bounty, a beautiful production. You know, the native grasslands of the prairies here. Geez, how do you get them to bloom? How do you get them to be in their full, vigorous state of glory? You got to burn them. You got to burn. You do. You got. That's the thing. Yeah. We're all misled to thinking that destruction is bad. It's not. Get over yourself.
Yeah.
You know, truly. And that's the hard thing for most people to understand, is that bad is good.
Yeah.
And good is good.
Well, and
Change is good.
Think that too, when you're able to truly allow yourself to have, whether you call it the death of the ego or that rebirth, when you get to that rebirth, that other side is so much more than you ever could have imagined.
Every time.
That it's, but it's getting to that point of finding the balance of both the feminine and the masculine, of the good and the bad. But so many people are afraid to get there.
Yeah.
They choose to stay.
And every time, like I was saying, that ever-searching light, you know, every time you ask for more, if you truly ask for more, you will truly get more. Like, you will always search. The more you search, you will always find. There is no dead end. There's never a dead end unless you choose to think there's a dead end. But I'll leave with this as far as like what the decision process is like to choose to champion ourselves in the moment. This is something that I don't have a name for it. I call it like the 3 A's, but it's about adhering to reason. It's about adhering to the truth, and about being the vessels and the actors and the agents that are responsible for what only we can be responsible for. And as far as I see it, there's 3 really fantastic steps about choosing to recognize the world and being reasonable in it. So the first thing is just to acknowledge. This is to acknowledge your mood, to acknowledge the truth of a situation, to acknowledge what your eyes tell you, to acknowledge if something is good or bad, rather than just, as we call it, good or bad, or being an obstacle, or being, a fast track, or whatever you might, any idea. Don't hide from it, because if you just hide from the truth, you're never going to find yourself. You're never going to find fulfillment. If we can't face it, the moon faces us. We need to face things. First, we acknowledge. What's the next one? Accept. So in order to accept something, you have to know it's there. And like, acceptance is such a fantastic walk of life. Accepting the most worst thing possible. But if we can get over and if we can accept that the worst thing possible was meant to be, that's a fantastic practice, in my opinion. Even if you aren't like completely certain, it's just an idea in your head of a possibility that maybe happened, maybe to not even to you, maybe it was something to a friend or history. If you can truly find yourself accepting that the worst possible thing was meant to happen, and you're no longer tied to an emotional response to it, that is a huge step, and that's a big ask, but it's possible. Because everybody knows what the highest state of being is. The highest state of being is gratitude. And I would go beyond to say I'll get there in a second, but I'm going to use admiration. I'll use admiration or appreciation. My handwriting's probably horrible here. Admiration and appreciation. If I go in with gratitude, like no longer, okay, first I accept or I acknowledge that thing, I accept it, but what happens what's the thing that charges you? It gives you confidence and gives you that vigor. It's like to know that, damn, that was nice. Appreciating it. Because if I appreciate it, I really can look at it in full color. If I can appreciate, this is a mental practice. I've done this so many times. Anything I've done in my life that I remember I once saw as a mistake or a regret, this is the way through it. there are these steps of understanding that you take. Because if I appreciate it, then I can look at it in full detail, and no piece of that is going to blow me away. No longer am I fragile. No longer am I missing something that lets me approach and break down that obstacle, because I love it. I love everything. I am the ultimate essence of love and admiration there. And so I am fully taking on like the ideal state of maternity. I'm loving that thing. I'm loving me. I'm loving life. I'm loving the world. I'm loving everything there is and everything that was done because of that action that I chose to have. I'm being like ideally motherly to myself and to everybody around me. That is the ultimate state of being, because I am at full fulfillment, satisfaction, and bliss with this maternal facet, this maternal essence, this moment, this piece of me that once was. And if I love that, then I can go on, what confidence do I bring into the next moment? Knowing that I've loved everything that I ever been and everything that's ever been. Like there's a huge amount of charge. I mean, it's the infinite amount of charge and vigor available in reflecting this idea of love, because this fulfillment that's expressing itself wants it to reunite. We want to descend and separate so that we can return out of the veil and champion this blossoming idea back into this bliss of pleroma, is what it's called. And so then I would say, well, this is like the mental facet of finding out this great reason and truth. And so then the last thing that we take with us is that we adhere and we become consistent actors. We become consistently in charge of ourselves, because we're charged. Now we're in the boat, and we adhere to the natural way, the truth that's available to the senses or to reason. And this is where the sun bathes the moon, because we take in this beautiful understanding, gnosis. Truth is knowledge, self-knowledge, but seeing yourself beyond your physical self, and then making it happen, and being who we think we should be, not who we want to be.